Hey, it's another edition of Something to Talk About.
Good morning.
She's still Vaughn.
He's still Stuart. Good morning. Did you?
And just before we went on the air, I made note of the fact that normally Vaughn is sitting outside on the patio, and I'm sitting with inside, usually with a backdrop of the studio. And I thought, well, today, since she's going to be outside, maybe I'll be outside. So I got a backdrop of a playground, and she's inside. So this is the zigzag show, because we're always zigzagging.
Well, I had to come back. I explained earlier I had to come back to my bedroom because I'm having some work done in the house. So, and I'm having some work done in the back too. So I couldn't go.
Yeah, your slats are open just enough that you can see some workers walking back and forth behind you.
Are they behind me? They're going to work on my fence. Yeah, I'll have. Well, you had said maybe we should ask them to be on the show. Maybe I'll have them come in later. They can contribute to our conversation.
There you go. There was also a significance that I chose this playground background. Because it's an empty playground. There's no kids on the playground.
Yeah.
And it's kind of signifies that we just recently went through this thing where they're starting to lift the restrictions on mask wearing and things being open, that they decided, whoever these powers are to be, have decided, well, everything's okay. We can open up all the restaurants and bars and let everybody do whatever they want. You don't even have to wear a mask if you don't want to, because this COVID thing is getting better. Personally, it ain't getting better, folks. I don't think it's getting better yet. And don't jump the gun. Wear the mask. And the other reason for the playground is Vaughn and I very often like to reach out to our friends and public figures and people just out there, and invite them into the show to talk with us about a variety of things. Well, our playground's empty because ain't nobody wants to come out and play with us. And I'm not going to get specific, and I'm not going to mention John Keating's name on the show, but sometimes we ask people over and over again, please, we really want to discuss some issues with you. Well, I'm too busy. We asked to have a dozen people to join us today, and everybody's too busy. I thought COVID gave everybody all this extra time. They're sitting inside virtually. They could connect with us, and nobody wants to play with us. So our playground is empty.
Well, I'd like to see that playground fill up, sooner than later. John Keating, we've been trying to get him on the show. He's a busy guy. And, even though we are still dealing with issues related to the pandemic, he has responsibilities that he has to fulfill. And so he is out there doing his thing, and he very much so wants to join us on our show as soon as his schedule permits. He's promised me that. I can be like an annoying little gnat.
Yes, I want you to keep gnawing at him.
He always had a lot of good things about the city of Frisco. Contribute, yes, he always does, and then he can even speak to politics really across the board. He's a fun and interesting guest to have on the show. So I'll keep working on him. But
he's one of my favorite go-to guys because he's a veteran. We could talk about that. We could talk about his work that he does with our city council. He also has recently gone through some surgery, some serious spinal surgery and all, and want to know how he's doing and recovering from that, and what the issues were. So he's a very, very important person for us to get on this show, and we just need for him to look at the two of us and say, these guys are important, and I need to move my calendar aside a little bit to make time for Stuart and Vaughn.
Yep.
John,
Yeah,
I got the message.
I think I think he knows he really wants to, truly wants to come on the show. He loves coming on the show. He really just keeps a very, very full schedule. And I just need to probably be better at lining him up well in advance. So I'll work on that. But you know, you and I were talking about Abbott coming out, governor of Texas, with the lift in the mandate and the reopening businesses at 100%. And I know that probably if you were to ask this question of 10 different people, you'll get 10 different
absolutely
responses to his decision. Not everybody's going to agree with the decision. But I think that his decision, well, first of all, here in Texas, our restaurants have been at 75%. So when you hear 100%, people might go, oh my gosh, he's opening at 100%. That's just crazy. When really it's 25% more than what we have been for months now. So, and again, I'm only just sharing with you or speaking to how I see this. I don't, whether I agree or not agree, but I just, what I like about the decision is that he didn't come out with another mandate. He came, we had a mandate of the masks. We had our restaurants restricted. Basically our bars have been closed. He didn't come out haphazardly and say, everybody just toss your masks into the wind. We don't need them anymore. And he didn't say, run into a restaurant and start hugging and kissing people. I mean, he didn't come out with that irresponsible kind of like new guideline. Instead, he just basically, the way I understood it, what I read is, I'm going back to 100% restaurants to give these small business owners a chance to catch up and survive possibly. And I'm going to now say it's not mandated that you wear the mask, but please still wear your mask if you choose to wear your mask. If you are uncomfortable in any social gathering or place of business, wear your mask. And I would like to think that some businesses will still require that, but he's leaving it up to the businesses. So what I like about his decision is that he's giving us a little bit more freedom in terms of how we are responding and reacting and managing our lifestyle through this pandemic. Again, whether or not you agree, I do like, we are going to have to eventually, but we're going to have to eventually ease back in this direction. Now, later, don't know. We do have our vaccines now kicking in. We've got our herd effect kicking in. So how am I going to respond? I will probably still wear my mask, obviously, in the beginning. And I think because I have also become comfortable wearing my mask, but more importantly, I know that when I'm in a place of business or out in the public, it makes other people feel more comfortable. So I will probably still wear it just because I think it's kind of just kind of a well-mannered thing to do and a responsible thing to do and a safe thing to do. But will I eventually get to a point where I'm not wearing a mask anymore? I would like to hope that I will. So I think this is a step in the right direction. And I don't think he meant this as to just go off and just go wild and crazy. But I think he's indicating we need to look forward, be responsible, continue to be responsible, but he's giving the choice. He's giving us a little bit more of a choice in how we handle this personally.
Now, unfortunately, I don't quite see it that way because I'm fearful that there are far too many people that are going to say, aha, see, don't need the mask anymore. I can go wherever I want. And even if that store says you have to wear a mask because the mandate has been lifted, I can walk in there without a mask and do it. I have a problem on a couple of areas here. Number one, we are seeing nationwide that the numbers were starting to come down. More people are getting vaccinated. I don't really understand why the mandate has to be lifted while people are still waiting for their vaccines, waiting for their vaccinations. Some have had maybe one shot. They're waiting for the second. I think we're kind of in a crossover that maybe this lifting the mandate is a little bit premature. Secondly, we're getting ready to go into spring break for colleges all across this country. And what does that mean? By lifting these mandates and not making the wearing of masks mandatory in so many areas, that what it's going to mean is this herd mentality thing that we've gone through before. It may just mean that some of these parties are going to be exposing more people to the potential virus and these new knockoffs on the virus. Texas is the second largest state population wise. There's what 30 million people in the state of Texas. We're only exceeded by 40 million in California and 20 million in Florida. The problem that I see is that this is going to ease these restrictions to these large population states, and those people are not still just staying at home. They're now traveling, and it may mean that we're going to start to see a spike go up a little, which we don't want to see. My opinion, and again, it's just my opinion, if I go into a store that has relaxed their mask wearing of the mask requirements and everything, I will turn around and I will go elsewhere until I'm comfortable that this is behind us and that it is safe to go. The restaurants that are doing outdoor dining and everything, I still feel comfortable about doing some of that, but I don't know whether indoor dining at 100% means that these tables are going to be closer than 6 feet apart. So it's going to put more people at risk. And I just see it as maybe a little bit more of a premature decision on a statewide level, because the president of the country has said he really would like people to stay masked up for the next 30, 60, 90 days, because while that's happening, people are getting inoculated, and that's going to help bring this susceptibility down. And I kind of favor that approach rather than individual states saying, we're going to relax it, we're going to keep it up, whatever.
Yeah. I'm sure you're not alone at all in how you.
Well, I'm speaking as a senior also, and I'm in the in the high end. Oh, looks like somebody's son just. Matt just said his wedding is going to be mask free.
People need to stop relying on the government to tell how to rely. There are countless good health practices out there that aren't mandated. And I agree, and that's kind of how I see it as well. I totally completely understand and how you see this, and I agree with you. I think there'll be a lot of people that do agree with you on that. But I also I think what has been the decision that was made is basically just putting the choices back in our hands. And
that's true.
Well, you might think that majority of the people will move forward in an irresponsible manner, businesses, individuals, but a lot of people I would like to think will move forward responsibly, but this mandate has just been lifted. And I know small business owners across the board are obviously in full support of this decision. They're losing their businesses. And again, I think that, for example, say I'm going into an establishment that is where it's very frequented by a lot of people, like say it's a Costco or something like that. I would probably choose to wear my mask in a place like that. But then, for example, there's a small gift shop up the road here, and usually there's only maybe 1 or 2 sales people in this gift shop, and maybe 1 or 2 customers. Maybe a lot of times you're alone. I then would have the freedom then to go into that establishment and not have to wear my mask because it's not mandated anymore. And really, there were times when I would go into this place and I had to wear my mask, and I couldn't breathe very well. I was feeling claustrophobic, and I was the only one in there. It was kind of a little bit. So I think this gives you the choice when it makes sense to kind of just use common sense. And if you're in a place where you're alone shopping in a small gift shop like the one I'm referencing, you can pull your mask down or take it off. I think it's just giving you a little bit of freedom. I think Abbott still wants people to act responsibly, but he's putting the choices back to it. He's giving us the freedom. He's lifting that heavy mandate. And is it too soon? Could be. I don't know. But he's just taking that step in the direction. I tell you, Stuart, there are a lot of people I know, my family members included, who have been shut in for a year. They have received both vaccinations, and they are still fearful to re-enter the real world. And there are a lot of people like that right now. It's kind of like we all started sucking our thumbs, and it became a security blanket. It became a security thing. And now we've got to break that habit and ease back in. When is the right time to ease back in? I certainly don't know, for whatever reason. And I'm not behind closed doors with Abbott and his staff discussing the logic behind his decision, but I'm going to have to trust that he didn't just, like I said, just, hey, everybody, today's the day. I'm sure there was some logic behind his decision. And I would like to see us ease back in that direction responsibly and carefully. But I like the fact that we've been given a little bit the opportunity to choose to make the choices ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, with all due respect, it's a tough decision to make. We all are just fed up with without having these freedoms, and I understand. And he did not just say, I'm lifting the mandate and nobody should wear a mask. He did say, I encourage people to continue to move cautiously and wear your masks, and removing the mandate will certainly help a lot of people. I'm not just saying it because this is not a either or situation, but what it's done is now that it's put the onus back on those individual business owners. If they say, listen, I feel more comfortable staying at 75% occupancy. I also feel more comfortable with having people enter wearing a mask, because certainly in restaurants, you can't eat with a mask on. So you're going to have to take the mask off or lower the mask in order to eat. In other stores, you mentioned Costco. Yes, if they want to go back to 100% occupancy, they may still say you still got to be 6 feet apart at checkout. And we would still like you to wear a mask while you're in the store. That they're being proactive based on their belief in the law. Yeah, nobody wants to have a law where it's this way or the highway. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things. The other report that came out, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have heard that, is that the president and the CDC have said that we are ahead of our track. The president said when he took office, he wanted to get 10 million people, was it 10 million people vaccinated within his first 100 days of office. It looks like now that Johnson & Johnson is a player in the game, that it may be accelerated. We may get a lot more than 10 million people vaccinated by the end of April. That's great news, because the more people that get vaccinated, the more our comfort level goes up. And whether you get the Pfizer or the Moderna or now the new Johnson vaccine, they're getting it to the senior population. They're getting it to those critical care people, the essential workers. I understand that the teachers are next on the list. They want to try and get every educator vaccinated within the next 30 days, as much as they can. Again, it's based on state to state allotments, but we're making progress, folks. And that's a good thing, because we couldn't say that a year ago. So we are making progress, and it's going to get better. And like you said, Vaughn, maybe a year from now, we'll be walking around and maybe not wearing our masks. We're probably still going to be fist bumping, because I'm not sure how soon people are going to be shaking hands. But it's going to get better. But we have to get better as a total society rather than just segmented. Yeah, do it logically.
Well, obviously we're better than we were a year ago, because a year ago we were just beginning all of this, and we were having to figure it out.
And
So
we didn't know where we were going
you
either.
know,
We didn't know where
yeah.
this was going.
So clearly, the beginning of this year, we've been on the upswing, because we're no longer in the beginning of this pandemic. We're well into the pandemic. We're hopefully on, sitting on the upswing of this pandemic. So yes, I mean, obviously the vaccinations, we knew they were coming, and here they are. People are getting them. Some people choosing not to get them. So yes, and that's a good thing, and that's a good sign moving forward. Absolutely. I think this, and you and I've talked so much about this over the past year. It just is very much a personality thing too, how people have responded to this. And some people have become very, kind of set in new ways. There might be things that, that habits that you develop during this pandemic that will forever remain habits of yours. I know that I always had tendencies before the pandemic to, wash my hands when I came in the house a lot. Frequently, I washed my hands. I was always very aware of sneezes and coughs even before. It was a kind of a thing of mine. And, but now I'm uber sensitive to those things. And I think I always will be. I had a conversation with a friend of mine just this morning, actually, because this whole mask thing, the whole topic has come up now. And, I was always aware of waiters or wait staff coming to your table with your food. And I've been aware of this for years, just because it's just my personality. And they're standing over your table, and they've got your plate of food right in front of their mouth. And they're saying, who ordered the spaghetti and the sauce and the whatever.
Yeah.
But even though you can't see it, that spray is going everywhere. And so I have appreciated our wait staff wearing masks, especially when they talk right over your plates. Moving forward, do I think I want them to forever wear masks? No, but I might be so bold as to say next time, could you bring my plate down, or could you not talk over my plate? Or I might say something if I feel like, in fact, that they've got my plate too close to their mouth, I might say something. Like, to your point, shaking hands. I don't have a problem shaking hands. I'm Italian. I'm a big hugger. I'm a big shaker. I'm a big kisser. And I'm probably going to get back into that. I'm careful now around new people. Are you hugging? Most people are hugging that I know, that run in my circle. But I think we just have to, because everybody has kind of gotten to this point where, like my mother-in-law, I mean, she is going to have to really readjust and to feel more comfortable going back out. Like I said, people feel secure with those masks on now. They feel protected. They feel just safe. And so I don't think you're going to see, even come March 10th, people ripping off their masks and just throwing them into the wind. I think you're going to probably see people ease back into this the way the governor has suggested we do. And again, I'm wanting to get to some normalcy. It's going to be new normalcy, but some normalcy.
Right,
and
right.
This cloud of the pandemic has been really hanging over our heads and impacting all aspects of our life, even our emotions, to a point where I was having a conversation with a college student who said that she's just feeling lazy. I mean, we've become sedentary, and so there are all kinds of things that I'm hoping will come back as we ease back into the world again. So that's why I'm okay with the decision. Again, too soon, don't know. I don't know how they came up with this timeline or this start date. I don't know. But and again, even though I agree with it, I'm going to be one of those people who will continue to wear my mask in certain places. But if I'm the only one in a gift shop, I might just take it off. I might just lower it down. I'm going to be a little bit more free to make those decisions on a personal basis, depending on kind of what I'm doing out in the community now.
Yeah, personally have found that, I'm still doing a little bit of the elbow bumps or the fist bumps and all, but I've also given a hug here or there, but while I'm wearing a mask. Yeah, you brought up a point earlier. Remember when we just intermittently used to just sneeze in any direction, when we had to sneeze, and we've all kind of learned to sneeze into our arms, and that's become more of a habit for each of us. So some of those things, that's why I say we may all continue to do these fist bumps instead of the handshakes, just because it's become kind of the new norm. But I'm also starting to see. If I got an email earlier today that it looks like the baseball season is going to be back with fans in the stands. Now, what kind of precautions they're going to have there with their concession stands, and are they still going to keep every other seat unoccupied in the stands? That's going to be up to each of the individual stadiums and their management, but they're relaxing a little bit of that, and you're going to start to see more people in sports venues, especially those that are outdoors. So it's not like, okay, today we're all restricted and tomorrow all the restrictions are gone and everybody's back to the way it used to be. As you were saying, it's a gradual process, and it's going to be a personal gradual process. Some people will run out there and put the top down in the car and start driving wherever they want to go. Others are going to be a little bit more cautious about it, but that's the choice that we have, and that's the choice that you need to assess for you as an individual. Right. You mentioned earlier about the vaccine. There's a lot of people that are still skeptical about even taking the vaccine. I've been that way about flu shots and shingles shots over the years. I haven't gotten them because I just didn't really feel the COVID shot. That's a little different story to me. Maybe it's because of my age group, but again, everybody's got a choice. If you don't want the shot, you don't have to get it. If that's your choice.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think it's a friend of yours, Joni Koch. She just made a comment. She said, "Yay! Thanks to Operation Warp Speed, and we now have 3 providers."
Yes.
So thank you, Joni. I agree. It's great because the more people that get in and can get those shots in the arms, the better, and we're all going to be better, and everything will get accelerated a little bit too.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. I mean, this has been in the works, obviously, with Operation Warp Speed, and we are beginning to see the fruition of all of those efforts. And that's why, yes, we're on the upswing. That didn't just happen overnight, obviously. Right. So I am that is a very positive thing. But yes, to your point too, not everybody's going to. I was in the company just last night of a few people, 2 of whom are getting plan to get the vaccine, and one who right now does not think that she's going to get the vaccine. She's also very hesitant to have her children get the vaccine. I think people's fear is, what to expect 20 years from now. And, but then I have a friend whose husband is an ears, nose, and throat doctor, and he does all kinds of research and reading on this, and that he believes it's very safe, and that there's nothing really new in the, I guess, ingredients that are going into this vaccination that should be harmful in any way, or but the general public doesn't have that kind of knowledge. But again, it's a choice. I don't really know how. I wouldn't want the government to mandate making you get the shot. That would be a very scary thing to think that that this would be some kind of federal rule. I wouldn't want ever to see that. So yeah, right now it's a choice. Both my parents have gotten it, as has Phil's, and they had no complications. I mean, albeit, I understand the concern is years out how people, but yeah, it's kind of like, seriously, probably for me, it's if I've talked to 10 people about it, I'm going to say maybe half are hesitant to even get it. So,
well, I think people need to not only listen to what the political side of it is, but also the medical side. Make sure you do a little bit of research, and we're not gonna know yet how effective the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is until it gets out there in a few arms, and maybe 30 to 60 days from now, we'll see if people are getting the same good reactions from a single dose Johnson & Johnson as they are from the 2-dose Pfizer and Moderna. Each one of the three are different in their own ways, but the results so far are showing that they are all successful. As we get new mutations, now there's already a talk that a year from now, maybe everybody's going to have to return for a third shot, or, in Johnson & Johnson, a second shot, a booster to address the mutations that seem to be arising. This is an ongoing thing, but the best weapon that you have is something that Vaughn always talks about, and that is education. Do your research, do your homework, look at all the aspects of it, and make your decisions based on the kind of research that you've done. Don't just haphazardly say, no, I'm not, or yes, I am, without knowing a little bit about why.
Right. Absolutely. And with the internet, you can gather all kinds of information, or reach out and talk to a friend. I mean, I talk to a lot of people. I like to get opinions. I like to hear what other people have read or researched on their own. And, it helps me with my decision. For me too, I've kind of gone through this pandemic really I'm not on either end of the spectrum. I'm not locked in my house 24/7, scared, and to just go outside. But I'm not just don't wear a mask, do whatever I want, go wherever I want.
You've been traveling,
Yeah, I am. How do I put it? I'm cautious. I'm responsible. I'm aware. To your point, I have been traveling.
Yeah.
I should say I have traveled. But I have done everything that they recommend you do when you do travel. I travel with my quarantine kit, I call it, with my hand sanitizer and my masks, extra masks, whatever.
After all, you're still a mother.
My Clorox wipes, I wipe seats down, I do everything like that. But I travel, and it's interesting to me too, because if you were to, I talked to somebody yesterday who hasn't traveled in a year, and if you were to stick your head in an airport right now, you would just think there's nothing going on in this world around, because I mean, now everybody has their masks on, but there's no social distancing in an airport right now. I mean, it's and even on a plane. So I mean, and that's been going on. That has been going on. So again, with Abbott coming out with this new rule, I mean, and again, this is just Texas. I mean, my sister's in New Jersey, and she came to visit my parents after they got their second vaccination shot, because it would stay for them to be in their company, but came for a quick visit, and kind of commented just how different it was here in Texas compared to New Jersey. I suspect that's the case Philadelphia, New York, I mean, California. So this is Texas that you and I are having this conversation in Texas. I bet our conversation would be totally different if we lived through this pandemic in New York City. I don't know, right? So this is so true. I did feel comfortable moving. I think Texans in general felt comfortable kind of moving around, but and we talked about Costco. In the very beginning, they were very, very strict counting going in. If you've been there in the past few weeks, it looks to be back to the way it was before. So life before the pandemic, So I don't know. We'll have to see. It'll be interesting. I was just curious before our show this morning. I had the fence guy outside in the driveway, and we were talking. I asked him what he thought about it. And of course he said, and people are very careful how they answer too. people are, when they talk about really anything pandemic related, they're very careful how they respond, like, because you don't really know where the other person kind of is on that topic, and is it politically correct to say this or that? Is it, am I going to offend? Is it, so I asked him, and he kind of sheepishly was like, well, I'm in support. Yeah, I'm in support of it. And so I said, oh, I kind of nodded. I didn't say whether or not I just, but and it's funny too, we were having this conversation kind of about how people they're very careful how they speak of different aspects of the pandemic. We were talking about the vaccination with some people, and some people have gotten the vaccination, and other people are, questioning, well, how did you get it? How did you? I am, in line to get the vaccination, but how'd you jump in front of me, kind of thing, and some people have health related issues, and for real, and other people might be even suspicious of that. Oh, you have a health related issue. Well, that's something that we didn't always, know about, and kind of raising an eyebrow. And,
right.
And I just find it interesting that this vaccination, some people are wanting to just elbow their way to the front of the line, and other people are just sitting back and waiting for the people who qualify and to get it first. Other people have real health related issues, and other people question those people. So again, it's like sometimes when we talk about this pandemic, wearing masks or not wearing masks, how did you get the vaccine before me? Do you travel? Like, it's turned very kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just
caution.
Judgmental a little bit, and, we're careful how we talk about it, just because we all have different opinions about it. And some people take it personally, and some people hear you as being irresponsible, or it's not moral, whatever. So I don't know. It's this pandemic is such a broad topic, because there's so much that falls,
Yeah, and I'm not so sure that I like that. I don't like that at all, because this pandemic, it's not a political issue. It's a human issue. We are all, it's not even just an American issue. It's a worldwide issue now, and we all have to be aware of what it is, because this started when the pandemic occurred in China, and somebody traveled from China into this country, and it started to spread, and then it spread all over the world. And today there are different countries that are attacking the COVID crisis differently, but it's still a human issue. One of the questions that I have, and I really would be curious about the answer. In the United States, we've lost over 500,000 people to this disease. How many of them were Democrats and how many of them were Republicans? Does that matter? They were all Americans. They were all human beings of this country that lost their lives to a deadly disease. So politics didn't come into play when they were breathing their last breath in the hospital. That's what we have to focus more on, and be aware. It doesn't matter, restrictions, no restrictions, whatever. This is a nationwide issue that we all have to take on as Americans, and also that we can start to see those death numbers go down and the life numbers go up.
I agree, and I don't think that this pandemic is political. In terms of the nature of the pandemic, is not political.
Right. I agree.
However, some of the responses to the pandemic have been politically, kind of politically based. I thought it was disgusting, whether or not you're for Trump or not for Trump. He was the president of our United States. I was appalled when he was diagnosed with COVID. I was appalled at some of the things that were written and said about our president who had COVID. It was almost as if some people wished it upon him. It was disgusting. So I agree with you that while it's not political in nature, this virus, the response to this virus has been very political.
Yeah. There always has been. Hasn't always has been, but there always will be a political slant to almost anything that we do, going forward. It's just in our nature now. But again, the best thing that I personally can hope for our country is that everybody really gives serious consideration to being vaccinated, because it'll put us all in a better place. If you don't want the vaccination, that's your right. And all, but the more people that do get vaccinated, and the faster they get vaccinated, the faster we all can get back to the way we were.
I agree. I agree with you completely. And I think if you're not comfortable now, like what you said earlier, talk to somebody, talk to a medical professional, do your own research. You have to be careful what you research online, because pretty much I think that whatever you're looking for online, if you're looking for a particular answer to something, you're gonna be able to find something to support the
Right.
answer that you want to hear. So you have to be careful where you're getting your information from online. I recommend talking to a medical professional. I have that opportunity because, like I said, I have a good friend whose husband is an ears, nose, and throat doctor, works on COVID patients, and I know does just copious research on the virus and the vaccine. And so she's able to give me some real black and white figures there, data, whatever, research to that. So and I am a nervous person by nature. I am a worrier by nature. I would have tendencies to worry about this vaccine, but she is able to kind of provide me with facts that make me feel more comfortable, getting the shot. I'm in line to get the shot. I have no idea, when that will happen, but when my number's called, I'm planning on.
Well, and also, it's interesting that while all of the vaccines will do the same thing, I haven't seen anything that kind of indicates whether, for instance, in my age group, is the Pfizer better than the Moderna or better than the Johnson Johnson? For middle-aged people, is it better? Oh, maybe that you should seek get on a list that's giving the Moderna vaccine. We really don't know. It's a matter of everybody's on a lot of lists, and when your number gets called, you just go and you receive whatever vaccine it is. So that's kind of that shot in the dark that we're all taking, because as Lauren had mentioned, are we going to see a year or two from now, somebody's going to come back and say, oh, you should have gotten the Moderna vaccine because there's been a few more side effects with the Pfizer or with the Johnson Johnson? We're not going to know for years.
Right.
No. But in the meantime, you take a chance. It's the same thing with the flu vaccines, because you don't know which flu vaccine is better than which one's better than the other.
Right. No, I'm sorry, Stuart, did you say you did get your first shot?
I have my first shot, and I have another few weeks for my second. Lauren gets her second shot this week.
And are you doing Moderna or Pfizer?
Pfizer.
So, so did you have any side effects or anything from it?
No. The arm was sore for a couple of days, but nothing.
Yeah.
Now, my daughter-in-law, who had COVID, has since gotten the shot, and all. She's had a little bit, not a bad reaction, but a little more of a reaction than I had, because she had the COVID. Because you're being vaccinated with the disease in order to increase your immune system against it.
Right.
So everybody is different, but that's like you said, Vaughn. That's where your health professional comes in. And if your health professional says, I think you should sign up with this county program and wait to get the vaccine from them because they're doing Moderna, instead of just going to this one that's doing Pfizer. Listen to your professional, because your situation may be a little different.
Exactly.
So,
okay. Well, my professional opinion is that we have to end the show now.
I think we should. I'm going to go out on the playground and see if I can drum up a couple people to join us next week. Okay. And we'll wait to hear from John to see when he's going to join us.
I have John, and I have a couple other potential guests that I'd like to have on the show, and so I'm working on them now. But the key is I need to obviously line them up well in advance. So I'll be working on that. I'll keep you posted.
Okay. And if not, you'll throw a rope around one of the workers out on your patio and drag them in and have them join us on the show next week.
Okay. All right. So
Make it a good week and a good weekend, everybody. And join us right here again next Wednesday at 11 o'clock for another version of Something to Talk About. Bye.